Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm using my mobile because the con that is the MacBook webcam. Like, how did we pay thousands of pounds and we get that like blurry filtered piece of rubbish? What?
It's so true. It's so true. Hi, I'm here with Eleanor Hill, who is here to talk to me about her amazing show Overshare, which I'm really excited to chat about. That's awesome.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. So I thought, you do a bunch of things. So you're an actor, you are a producer, you're a marketeer, you're a writer, obviously. So there's loads of stuff that we're going to be able to talk about. And yeah, very, very excited about that. I was going to start like this actually, because I've never actually asked a guest this, because I thought, well, if I ask them this, maybe it's going to get into the whole territory of like, or what, the question of like, what are you up to now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hate. We all hate that question. And I was like, so for
Yeah,
if
but we usually
like,
hate that if it comes at Christmas from some random relative rather than like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
What are you up to right now? Have you thought
yeah.
about writing into the National Theatre?
So true, so true. But I was like, I'll phrase it a little bit differently in terms of like, not really like what you're up to at the moment, because obviously you're up to this show, but more or less like, how are you
Mhm.
feeling about just the creative industry in general at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, you started me off. That's it. I'm gone. I'm gone. Well, it's a really interesting one because I obviously am very busy right now with my own show that I wrote and made for myself and put on myself. I
Yeah.
haven't got any other work.
Hmm.
I don't have an agent. I the last audition I had was in January. So that's how I feel about the
Okay.
wider acting world.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good and interesting conversation piece that I think we all need to be talking about a lot more because I think we assume that we're all busier than we are. And some
Mm.
people are very busy and maybe they're keeping it quiet or they're just showing it off, and that's fine. But I think there is an assumption that if someone is doing one thing, that must mean that they are doing everything and they're having a great time. And no, not at all. Not
Yeah.
not at all. I think that the industry is harder than ever before. Um
This is kind of where I wanted to get at with this, because
yeah.
I feel this massively. Like everyone I speak to is like, it's just so quiet. And like, it's not like just a quiet patch. It's like, it's just quiet. And we're all a bit like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh. And
Yeah, I mean, I think I sort of hate saying this, but I think it's true. I think that we're still suffering from COVID.
yeah,
Um, and I think that unfortunately, because COVID financially impacted the industry so much, we're already in this sort of capitalist monstrosity where we obviously just need money, 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 money. But COVID made that a necessity to the point that theatres, I'm predominantly, my experience has been in theatre really, so I speak mainly about that. But I think, film and TV as well, they want names. They
mm,
want people that will guarantee ticket sales. And they need that after COVID even more so. So they need shows that everyone already knows, or they know names that people know. And they need that because otherwise they go bust and they got into big trouble. So I have some sympathy there, although some of
yeah,
them I think are very greedy and what have you. But
mm,
that means that people who aren't a big name, they
yeah,
are not getting a look in. And the roles that we might have had a look in for previously,
yeah,
we're now even not getting a look in for those.
mm,
And I think that's filtered to all parts of the industry. I think it filters down to which agents are willing to take a risk on you. I think it filters down to programming. A lot of the theatres in London, their new writing schemes gone.
oh, okay,
And the ones that say that they're new writing, when you look at them, I'm like, that's not new, or it's new writing by a very established writer or something. And then the same, then it comes down also down to like audience members and stuff. Like people want guaranteed hits. They haven't got very much money, and so they want to know that what they're going to see, they know already. And so yeah, I think sorry to be the doom and gloom
No, but I think it's
stuff.
important. I think it's important to talk about, definitely. And I think it makes people feel a little bit more secure in themselves because,
Mm,
if you don't hear these conversations, then you just think there must be something wrong with me. And like,
absolutely.
and so you can't help but them go, well, I'm the problem type thing. And like I think it's really important to voice those things, definitely. But I mean, theatre is I mean, I've been lucky enough to go to the theatre a lot recently to see some great things, but it's expensive.
I mean, right, hideously expensive. I think I did actually. I started going on TikTok because I don't know. I just felt like I should. So I went on TikTok and I was making some silly little reels, and I made a reel about how the ticket prices have gone mental,
Mhm.
and the reception to that was incredible. I was
Yeah.
like, oh wow, it's not just me. Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Because I think it's morally bankrupt for us to be charging up to like £200 or £300 for a theatre ticket. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
and then we all turn around and we go, oh God, you know, these theatre makers, they don't see enough theatre. And I'm like, yeah, because we're broke. We can't
Yeah.
afford that. What?
So true. Yeah.
Or have you been to a casting before and they're like, oh, so what have you gone and watched recently? And you're like, nothing, I can't afford it.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And also, that like when I was at drama school and stuff, I would go in to central London after I'd been to drama school and like I
Mm-hmm.
would be like, oh, let's catch a last minute ticket. And like I remember when Mischief Theatre Company were still hot and fresh and
Yeah.
new. And, Peter Pan that goes wrong was still on. And that was like £10 in the stalls. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like you'd literally be there like, have you got any tickets for tonight's show? And they'd be like, yeah, I can give you one for a tenner. That is
Yeah.
unheard of now. Like absolutely unheard of. Or
Yeah,
like,
that sounds made up. Like it
yeah,
sounds like an I know it's true because I experienced those things too, but it sounds like a lie. No one
yeah,
now would believe that, I
no.
don't think.
And like Todaytix used to be the cheap option. If you went on Todaytix, it was like, oh, you would be able to get the last minute tickets and stuff. And they still do quite a lot of discounts and stuff like that. But it is, yeah, it's crazy. I went to watch Stranger Things the other day, and I was
Ooh.
like, yeah, it was great. It was really great. And I was like, £50 in the stalls, I'm winning. But actually,
Yeah, I know.
am I?
I know. How are we celebrating £50 though? Like,
Yeah.
how has it got to that point? And we're like, yeah, that's great. I also think that, one of the things I found with the ticket sales stuff is prices is it puts the pressure on the actors and the performance as a whole because and I'm, we're in the industry, right? But and I shouldn't be thinking this because I know what's going on behind, but I do. I think I spent £50. You better be great.
Yeah.
You better be amazing because I haven't got £50. So and I think it's like then we're going in with these expectations, and it's just doing horrors to
It is.
everything.
Yeah, no, it's so, so true. But yeah, no. And so let's talk a little bit about your acting journey to start with, if that's okay.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
sure. So you trained originally and then you sort of were into it, or what happened? How did you get into acting?
Yeah, so I it's the only thing I was really good at or did well at high school. I think that often happens with actors. It's like, well, that's the thing that I like, and that's the thing that I'll do.
Yeah.
And then I went to Bath Spa and I did theatre studies and history. I didn't know drama school was an option
hmm
from high school. I think my high school probably wouldn't have been encouraging of me going off to drama school,
I was
and
in the
so
same boat as you. Yeah,
so
definitely.
probably didn't tell me about it because that wouldn't have been good for their grades and all of their achievements and stuff. So I went to Bath Spa. Actually, Bath Spa was great. Their theatre studies course did a good job for me.
Yeah.
Um, and then I came out of that undergrad and I was like, oh my God, I've got to get a job. I've got to get a job. I've just got to, sure.
Mhm.
And I still didn't really know about drama school. I think I didn't really understand that was a path. So I just went into real world work and I went into recruitment, which, oh God, that was the trenches. And then I worked in marketing which was a happy accident, which has served me very well in my
Yeah.
theatre career, actually. And I did marketing for like Pandora and Pret, so like some big places, and it was helpful. And I didn't realize then that it would be so helpful, but it was. But then I kind of got to a point where I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Where's the acting?
Yeah.
And then I started auditioning. I did one round of auditions and got nothing, and then I did another round of auditions and I got East 15.
Amazing.
And so yeah, I went to East 15 for my MA
Nice.
and did a year there, and then came out, and I was sort of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and this is gonna be so good. I'm gonna be an actor. And yeah, you know that dream that you will come out with. And
Yeah.
then I had about, I think it was about nearly a year or just under a year. I'd got an agent. I was starting to get some auditions and stuff, and then COVID happened, just as I was sort of like really slotting into what life could be like,
Yeah.
lining up those sort of side hustle roles,
Yeah.
getting into the groove of, oh, what does it mean to do auditions and stuff like that. And COVID just came and chopped it all out.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, it's a story we all know, but it was horrific because I felt like, and I still sometimes I feel as though my acting never got it never went off, it never got its chance to really
Yeah.
get onto that
I really
trajectory.
understand that. Yeah.
And it's so, yeah, it's I mean, it's awful, really. It's I know a lot of us are in that boat, and it is what it is, but that's what happened for me. And then I had a lot of time at home and I wrote a show, because I couldn't be doing with it. I was like,
Hmm.
this is, I've gone to drama school. I had a plan. It was
Yeah.
going to be all good. What the?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's such a good thing that you did because it sounds a very similar timeline to me. Like, again, I didn't really know about drama schools. I did history
Ah,
as well.
oh, did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, so very, very similar. Like I did history as well. It was either going to be like history or performing. Very, very different. So
Yeah.
didn't know. Very two different worlds. And yeah, I was the same. And I came from a world where like drama school was like a thing that you'd heard of, but it wasn't. I hadn't heard about East 15. I hadn't heard about Mount View. I hadn't heard about Erdang. I think I'd only heard about Central, RADA. And I thought, how the hell am I going to get in there? And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
how
Mm-hmm.
does that work? And yeah, and through many fails and trials, like of all these different things, yeah, I managed to get into somewhere and it was really random. So I understand exactly
Where
how
did you
you feel.
go?
I went to the London College of Music.
Oh, okay, nice, cool.
So yeah, and like it again, literally did stumble because it was like, how on earth have I ended up here? Great. But again, yeah, 6 months out, COVID hit. And then I was like, right.
Honestly, I mean, it's just, it was just devastating, wasn't it? Because you
Yeah,
just sort of thought, and do you remember the bit? I don't know if you remember this. So the first bit of COVID, we all went online and we were doing like
passes.
one-to-one casting things, and we were doing all of this. Yeah, we're gonna put tapes out there and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I think we all managed to do that for about a month, and then we thought, this is diabolical.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true. And like the doing the classes and the proactiveness, I thought, well, props to you for actually going away and like writing a show because at that point, again, I would have had no idea how to write a show or anything like that. So yeah, well done for just going away and
Well,
just doing.
I mean, it wasn't a show at that point. At that point, it was a series of monologues.
Okay.
So I kind of, it's been quite a journey. It's been sort of a 5-year journey, actually, which is something I say quite proudly because, again, sort of linking back to our thing of things aren't always going well, I quite like to shout about the slog on
Yeah.
Instagram because I'm a big believer of nothing actually happens overnight. And I don't want to be perpetuating that narrative because I think it's really toxic.
Yeah.
So I like to show a bit of the old failures and and the hard work if I can. But it started off. Well, honestly, if I'm really honest, I kind of had a bit of a meltdown in this bedroom here,
Yeah.
and I just went on social media and I started just sharing like how I was feeling, what I was going through. It went through this terrible breakup. My mental health was diabolical. Like, and I was sick of, I think there was so much toxic positivity around COVID. Like, oh, I'm just making banana bread and I'm doing fine and I'm having a great time. And I was like, well, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I know lots of other people who are not.
Not,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, I did a series of, I mean, it was just my actual real life rants first. And then I took those and I turned them into a series, like I wrote monologues around them. And then
Mm.
I took that and made that into a play. So it wasn't like, right, I'm making a play, lads.
Yeah.
But
But
it was
what
a journey,
yeah.
you know.
But what piece of writing starts like that? Like there's not I don't really know if people go, I'm gonna sit down and write an entire thing. Like that doesn't really happen, does it? So
Maybe they do, but not me.
no, I don't believe it at all. It's a load of rubbish, like absolutely. Yeah. And so like with your writing stuff and things like that, you said you haven't had any like training with writing or anything like that. How was that then? Like how did you manage to find out how to do it?
Yeah, I think it was a really weird one. I think for me, I've sort of found what works just like really organically via the platform of Instagram, which is where I started putting all of my thoughts out, kind of actually weirdly created my writing style for me
Okay.
because so I'm dyslexic and I'm dyspraxic. So I'm not going to spell anything right. And there's going to be no grammar. There'll be occasionally, my best friend sometimes like checks over my work if it's for something professional or whatever. And I'll send it to her. And I know she's going to read it. So I just throw in a semicolon somewhere. I have no idea what they do. I don't know. I just know she's an English teacher and she'd love it. And she's always like, did you just chuck that in randomly for me? And I'm like, yeah, I sort of hoped for the
Amazing.
so we're like, you know, that, but I write how I speak. And that is just how it is. But I found that for me, so because I was putting these mad rants all over Instagram, and it's very talkative. It's like this, isn't it? It's like we're having a chat now. When
Yeah.
you go on and you go blah 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 blah, and you post it into the world. And because those were the inspiration for the monologues and then the play, I took those old archives and I watched my real life self doing them, and I thought, oh right, okay, I like what I'm talking out there, or that's kind of funny how I've done that. And then I would take my phone and I'd go, right, I'm going to take some of the core aspects of that. I'm going to go round to the park or to the high street or whatever. I'm going to talk until I can't think of anything else to say. So basically, sort of improvising really, and then come back and watch that. And if it's the good bits stick and the bad bits get chopped, it's quite, you know, you have to watch 30, 40 minutes of yourself talking absolute rubbish and that really filtered through. But for me, that was a helpful. And then sometimes I would then, you know, like write around that. But I had those sort of like base core ideas that came like organically. And
Yeah.
I think it was also like a much less scary way of this just sitting and typing
With the
for
pressure.
me. Oh, and a blank page. And I think I'm a very visual person, and that is doing nothing for me. So to watch myself, I almost, if you think about it, I'm sort of like writing from my performance, and
Yeah.
then I perform the writing that I perform. It's a bit meta, but I
Yeah.
think somehow that helps me get away from this like writer writing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was great. That sounds awesome. It was, I mean, do you think it's like improved your, like when you watch like a self-tape back or when you watch like yourself back, has that like helped you with that because you've spent so much time
Looking at
literally looking
myself.
at your face? Yeah. No, but because that's
Uh,
what, yeah.
I think it's a weird one actually. I'm okay. I would say that film and TV is not something that I naturally go to. I have a very, probably already tell, very expressive face. I actually think, you know, people always like, oh, actors shouldn't have Botox because they can't move their face. I actually think it would do wonders for me.
Oh my God, I have had the exact same feeling. I thought, actually, you know what? It would be two stones. What, like, you know what I mean? Like, it would literally sort me
Right?
right out.
Breathe it
Yeah,
down a little bit, make it more internal. I'd have to
yeah,
act with my eyes so much
yeah.
more
That's so
and
true.
youthful. Um, no, but so, I think it's a weird one because on here we do move our faces a lot and we talk a lot and we are over animated, I think, on social media. And
Mm.
so I don't know whether it's at least made me slightly more aware of what I do.
Mm.
Um, but has it helped? I think it might have just made me worse.
Because you
I
are
think it might have made me bigger because then when I do it on stage, I because of the how it's staged and stuff, and I had the projector behind me, and I do a lot of fun like tricks and magic stuff where I might hide under a bed sheet, but you can see the projection behind me. So I obviously have to be bigger here because you can't see me in real life. So I
Yeah.
think it's maybe made all that worse, but we shall see, won't we?
Amazing, amazing. So let's talk about Overshare. So tell me the storyline, plot, how are we describing the show?
How are we? God, do you know I've got to get better at this bit. People always ask me, and I'm like, I don't know, it's a show, yeah. No, it is a sort of exploration of mental health and trauma and isolation and heartbreak through the lens of social media. So, like,
Yeah.
what does it mean to experience those different things in the day and age of social media, and how does social media help or not help dealing with coping with all of those things and just sort of like trying to stumble through life.
Mm.
um it's also sort of weirdly, which I just sort of discovered this time round in redevelopment, a bit of a very late coming of age story.
Okay.
Like it's a semi-autobiographical piece, so it's yeah, it's mainly based on my life, and I think it's a bit about like the millennial struggle of like I still live at home with my dad,
Mm.
and what does that look like? How does it look like transitioning into your like 30s, but still
Mm.
sort of living in a sort of almost like teenage setup, and has how we use social media sort of like helped or delayed or stunted some of our growth, and it
Yeah.
looks at like how we deal with you know meme culture and how we deal with trauma and these sort of like dark things, and we
Mm.
turn them into jokes. Now I'm a big user of dark comedy. I do it all the time. I've had some pretty bad things happen in my life, and my way of plowing through is to find the funny at all costs,
Yeah.
because I don't mind if there's tears, but there must be laughter with the tears.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. God, yeah.
But I think that social media, what's really interesting, has kind of, in a weird way, it's taken that and really run with it.
Mm.
Because you think about when something happens in the world, someone's found the joke and put it online within 5 seconds of it happening.
Yeah.
And that is like our narrative now. It used to be, I used to found that people would always say to me, God, you've got such a dark sense of humor. Oh, that's too much, or that's too far, or whatever. And now a lot of people are right there with me, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And things, yeah, everything is about sound bites, and we use social media to sort of like puncture our jokes and give like the budum chush moments, and what music we choose and the filters we use. And it's kind of like it's almost like it's like we've made this universal coping mechanism of life.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so clever. It's so clever what you've done. I mean, like, yeah, that speaks volumes, definitely. And it's something that, yeah, you always go on, and everyone has their own opinion about something, which is great. But also, like, I'm sharing this so that someone else can relate. Do you know what I mean? It's always that. It's always a bit of, I'm sharing this so that someone else can relate. And like, when you feel like you're alone, there's like a million comments all saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I think that as well was like a real driver of mine for making this show in the beginning, was like I was having a really messy, horrible mental health time. I
Mm.
was struggling, like, and I wasn't pretty. My best friend, the English teacher. She's like, "You're an ugly crier," and she's not wrong. I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, hate
Yeah.
her for it, but she's not wrong. And if I'm upset, I am upset.
Mm.
And I put that all over Instagram when I was going through a really terrible time. And people were like, thank you for being the person who showed that.
Yeah.
And I always say, I don't know if have you watched The Queen's Gambit?
Yes, it's my favorite TV series of all time. I love
Okay,
it.
I love it, but
Yeah.
there is one thing that really gets me every time.
Okay.
There's a scene where she's like meant to be rock bottom. She's like,
Oh, she's a very sexy rock bottom.
Like, I'm sorry, but no way. Like, can we just see what is like this with fear of showing what a rock bottom woman really looks like? Because
Yes.
it's not that. I'll tell
Yeah,
you, it's
yeah.
not. And I don't think that seeing that is helpful. I think seeing someone who's an absolute state is helpful because then you don't feel so guilty if
Yeah.
that's you.
No, but it's like like I don't know if you've ever had it like if I've like gone into town or like I remember I used to say to my like brothers if I hadn't got makeup on or something, they'd be like, "Are you ill?
Yeah,
Excuse you? Excuse you? Uh, just because I don't have my foundation on
yeah,
today, I look a bit paler. Rude."
the audacity. It's not, but it's true. And you're like, no, I'm just trying to do life and be
Yeah.
me. And
Mm.
yeah, and I just wanted to show that sort of like real dark, messy places. And some of it is obviously a lot deeper and darker than other people will have been. But some people will maybe even be thinking, God, I wish I've had those thoughts. I've maybe not acted on them, but I've had those thoughts. And therefore I'm not alone and I'm not mad because someone
Mm.
else clearly has. And I'll
Yeah.
just be the one to overshare it out there and be
Yeah.
like, ah.
Amazing. So it's on at the Greenwich Theatre soon.
Yeah, 3 weeks. I'm terrified, absolutely terrified.
Is that the longest run you've done of the show?
Well, so before it was called Overshare, it was Sad Vents,
Okay.
and so this is like a redevelopment of that show.
Mm.
And Sad Vents was a redevelopment of the online series. So it's been on a, it's kind of like a Pokemon, like like leveling up every time.
Yeah.
um, but I took that to Underbelly, Edinburgh, and I did the month there. So I know sort of like know physically my body can do it,
Yeah.
but I've not done it in London for 3 weeks, and that feels like a very different, tough ask.
Okay.
Actually,
Mm.
I think Edinburgh. It's like everyone all together is going through that. There's a bit of camaraderie. Both, you come out of your show and you know that actor is doing that there and that there, and it's all everyone's losing their mind together. But this feels well, it's not like that, and so yeah, it's definitely it's a bigger ask, and it's going to be a test of me. I think also because there's so much more new material in this that no one's ever seen. So I'm a bit like, is it
Mm.
good? Is it bad?
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's like, in a place like Edinburgh Fringe, like everyone, sorry, is experimenting with their form, with their material in a
Mm-hmm.
way. I mean, I know you could have like some quite like formed pieces, but do you think that there's a little bit of pressure because it's London that it needs to be that London can
Hundred
be a little bit
percent.
more judgy?
Yes, 100%. I'm like, hmm, you're thinking, oh, I'm doing 3 weeks in London, so this should be, immaculate. And I think, oh, how are you gonna, yeah,
Which I
think or
hate.
feel
I hate
about
that.
it?
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah,
It
no,
shouldn't.
because I think like art's just a work in progress, isn't it? And also like imagine wanting a perfect play anyway. I don't want anything perfect.
Mm,
Perfect is boring. I want something a little bit like, ooh, what's
yeah.
going on here? And so yeah, no, there is definitely that. And I think people in general are in the mood for excitement and new things and what have you a bit more in Edinburgh. But I don't know. I don't
Mm,
know what it's going to be like. We'll see, won't we?
yeah.
It definitely give me a good old test. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm wondering, let's talk a little bit about Arts Council funding because I feel like that is the death of most creatives. Definitely.
Oh
I
yeah,
know I
for
know
sure.
nothing about it, so I'm your perfect audience for this.
Oh,
Um,
amazing,
because
amazing.
yeah, I have no idea whatsoever what it takes or entails, but all I hear from time to time is from people who are writing, people who are trying to get funded, are like, how do I do it? I don't understand it. So
Yeah.
give us some tips
You,
on what this is like and how to do it.
Arts Council. I have a love-hate relationship with Arts Council. If they fund me, I love them, and if they don't, I hate them so much. Um, I've been funded twice by Arts Council, which is still can't believe I say that, to be
I feel like
honest.
that's like winning an Oscar. Do you know what I mean? That's like, I
Yeah,
feel like
no. Honestly, do you know what? Actually, keep the Oscar because I got funded twice. That's harder. I'm sure of it. Yeah, it is challenging. So there's Arts Council bids. There's the grant, which is what I've got,
Sure.
which is it's broken into two things. So there's like a lower grant, which I think is up to about 30K, and then there's a 30 and up grant, which is, for huge things. And then there's also something called DYCP, developing your creative practice or something, which is I haven't applied for that yet. I will at some point, but it's basically you sort of say to the Arts Council, like, look, I need to develop my creative practice, and maybe that's like a course, or you need to go and do research or whatever. But the one that I've had is to project grants. So you put in a bid for a specific project. So the first time I got it was in 22, and that was to take the monologues and turn them into a stage show and do a run. And this one that I've got has been to take my old show and develop it into this new show and then do a run. It is really hard. The form is truly one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic, and even people who aren't look at it and they just want to sort of like be sick. Something worth knowing is if you have if you're neurodiverse, and I think there's some other things as well. You'll have to look it up. I can't remember exactly, but if you're neurodiverse like me, they will pay for a support worker for you. The Arts Council will.
That's great.
So what you can do so you can. I didn't know this at first, and then I found out. So you can apply to get a support worker. So you can either find one yourself, or they will hook you up with one, and that person is your sort of guide to the Arts Council bid. They won't be producing it for you. You still have to, know all of the details and pull the whole project together and what have you. But they can help you format your answers to fit into the form. Because a lot of the problem is the questions are just, who knows what they're trying to ask you? They ask the same thing over and over again. Honestly, it's a nightmare. It's a disgrace, really. And I personally think they kind of use it as a barrier to funding. I think it's done in such a way so that it makes it harder for people, which is terrible. However, they are obviously making support workers available, so that can help. Both times that I've got Arts Council funding, I've used a support worker. She's my support worker currently on the project. She's called Rachel Thomas. She's great. She understands. She can kind of basically decipher my internal language and put it into.
Because it's difficult. It's really difficult. Like I'm also dyslexic, and like I just you sometimes just like to go, this is this, form it, please.
Exactly. And that's and I think that's why it's so important. Like I say, they can give you a support worker, but I think I always say to people, if you can find someone that you know or that you have a gel with, that's probably a better way to go. And someone who's got Arts Council bid experience as well. Because it just means that I can say something, like with Rachel, I say something and she goes, I think you mean this. And I'm like, I do.
Yeah.
How did you know? But anyway, so she's helped me put in the bids. But, this is still a lot of work, and you've got to, the boxes that you've got to tick and go over, it's endless, really. You've got to do all the budget stuff and get all the partners, and who knows what it is that they're actually looking for as well. That's another thing. It feels like guesswork. And then so you eventually put it in, and then I think it's 8 weeks. And then they basically sit around a table and they look at all of the applications from that round, and then it's like yes, no, maybe kind of vibe. Oh, not maybe. It's either yes or it's no because you need to improve this, or no just because there were other things that we wanted to fund instead.
Okay, and you can apply obviously, like, is it every year that you do it, or every
No, you can apply. Well, so I think I read in the news that they were trying to change this. If they do, I will be turning up at their offices and raging hell, actually. I read that somewhere, don't quote me, but it's like they were going to change it so that you could only put in a certain amount a year. That would be diabolical. Because it would just be so restrictive to artists. At the moment, what it is you can put it. So I've obviously got one in at the moment. I can't put another application in until I've closed this application.
Sure.
So I'd have to close. And that's important for me because for example, I want to do a tour of the show after this, but I would need to close this application and then I would have to resubmit a new project, and that would have to be 8 weeks, and then we would see whether that gets funded or not.
Is it more likely then, as you said, you want to take it like on tour? Is it more likely that because, say, your show's quite well reviewed and things like that, that there's a bigger possibility that they would fund it because there's a bit more backing, obviously from external factors behind it, or is that not the case?
I mean, I kind of had hoped that that would be the case, but I know of other people who have got even more accolades and haven't been funded.
Okay.
So I don't know that that is actually a thing. I mean, you would hope so. I know that I did a workshop with someone, and I can't remember her name. Can't remember, sorry. But she was saying to me that she's been working with the Arts Council for years now, and they've obviously built up a relationship. So I guess the Arts Council they look at it from risk factors, really, because they're going, I've got this money, I'm going to give it to this person. How likely is it that what's going to happen, what they want to happen is going to happen, basically, and how that's going to work for them? And I suppose it would make sense if you think, well, if you've established a relationship with them, they probably understand you and your work and they've seen the growth.
Yeah.
And I suppose it would make sense if, when you've got reviews or you've got features or awards, you would assume that that would help. But like I say, I've known so many people who've got that stuff and haven't been funded.
Okay.
It's just a bit of a minefield. I think that's one of the biggest criticisms we all have is like, we don't know what you want.
Okay.
Like, what do you want? What are you funding and what are you not funding? You
Mm.
know? So yeah, I have no idea if they'll take me for a tour. I hope they will, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to afford to. And
Mm.
and I would really hope they do, because I'm a big believer in trying to not make all theatre work London centric.
Yeah.
I think it's our responsibility to take it out of London as well. But we haven't got the money to do that. So we need them to help us.
That is true. That is true. And like, everyone comes, it's weird, isn't it? Like you've got people that have come from Leeds to London for the day, specifically to see theatre, when you have the Playhouse and you have stuff there. But
Yeah.
like obviously I get that it's not maybe I mean I don't know, maybe it's not as well funded or maybe it's not for whatever reason, but there's a draw to come from a place where you do provide theatre to here,
Yeah.
which is
And
interesting.
it's yeah, and I think it's probably, I suppose, about where things are created. And I guess if it's created here, it's financially easier for us to stage it here.
Mm,
So then we should be trying to give the people who are doing that money to take it out. But we should also then, on the flip side, we should also be looking to those other places and making sure that people who are not in London have access to funding so that they can create within their own spaces.
mm.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned that you're not quite sure what Arts Council funding actually want, but is there any sort of criterias that people could hit, like the fact that it's possibly educational or, bits and bobs like that that possibly might help an application, do you think?
I mean, again, I'm just going off sort of experience of what other people have said and what I know. So
Mm.
don't this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not like, Arts Council words, but they seem to like sort of stuff that's going to benefit like communities,
Mhm.
but in a meaningful way. Not like, I know that basically some people will just like, oh, I'll do a few workshops and they'll just whack it on the end, and it's
Right,
like,
okay.
you did that so disingenuously,
Yeah.
like it's just like, fund me, I'll do a few workshops at a school. It's not I don't think that's really, the people who are reading it are going to see that, I think, and
Yeah.
they're going to know that's what you did.
Hmm.
So, but if there's an actual way that you can reach out to a community, or if there's an actual way that you could, your art can directly sort of like reach and touch people of certain different communities, I think that that is something that I would include. I wouldn't, again, I think that you have to be very careful about like shoehorning things in. I think understanding if that is something that was in your project already, and then just highlighting that.
Mm.
Um, I don't know really, apart from that. I mean,
Mm.
I think,
Sorry, can we go back to the workshop thing as well? So the
yeah.
workshop thing, what do you mean by that? If people like put in a workshop, what is that?
Well, okay, so like, so When I got my first funding, I did this because I really wanted to, and it was part of my thing, and I think it maybe helped my application, maybe not, I don't know.
Mm.
But I did workshops with my old high school, my old girl guide group
Okay.
on making monologues on your
Okay.
phone. So
Ah,
much like my writing process.
mhm.
And I basically sort of taught that to kids in schools. And my thing, I mean, I had actually contacted the schools and the guides before I'd even applied for Arts Council. So I was
Mhm.
going to do it anyway for free, but
Yeah.
then I put it in the bid as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, I taught them how to sort of basically use social media for good, in a
Mm.
way. And it was great and it was fun. But
And
that
you
was
can
sort of like
attach that
really,
to your application. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. So I put that as part of my project that I
Okay.
then that I did, because it was part of my project, and it helped me understand how younger people interact with social media, but it also helped me sort of work with them. And a big thing I've always wanted to with this show. It's hard to organise, but I've always wanted to try and have like an outreach or educational bit attached to it, especially when the medium that I'm using is social media and it feels so like fresh and current for younger people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when there's so many like problems around how people use social media, I've always thought that although the actual show is not for kids, I've always thought that I could sort of change it a little bit and maybe help teachers and phones and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was something that I did and that first bid, and that helped. But I do know that like I I spoke to one of my friends, and she was applying. She's like, yeah, I thought I'd just do a workshop as well, and I was like, oh, what's it about? And she was
Yeah.
like, I don't know, I'll just do a workshop. And I was like,
Right. Okay. So there's got to be a reason behind it. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
with you. I'm with you. Oh,
yeah,
funny. Yeah. So talk to me about selling tickets.
mm.
The first time you put it on.
Yeah.
How was that? Because I've been in project share work before, not stuff that I've written, but I've been a part of projects where they've brought in actors and we can sort of put in ideas and we improv and workshop it. And then they go, right, we're going to go put it on at the Golden Goose. And you're like, okay. And then you just go,
Cool.
right, let's try and get some audience members in. And like most of the time, you are fine, but it's just how many times can you call on friends and family to come and watch your show?
I mean, yeah, selling tickets is a fresh kind of hell of life. I always like laugh with my friends. I'm like, I just wanted to be an actor, and somehow I'm a producer, I'm a PR person, I'm a marketer, I'm a sales manager, I'm a writer, I'm everything. I'm
Yeah.
like, how did this happen? Or I'm an accountant. I'm like, I just wanted to play dress up on
Yeah,
stage.
yeah. So true.
Um, so looping back to where I said, obviously, I when I came out of uni, I went into marketing.
Hmm.
That is helpful for the horrors of producing a show
Okay.
because I have done it for other companies.
Right.
And I think for example, I know how to write a press release.
Okay.
I just knew how to write one already. I sort of know how to FBI stalk people and badger them, and some of those kind of things that other people might need a PR company for.
Right.
That was within me with my knowledge already. I know, for example, how to um, schedule things or post things, or I've done a lot of social media for different places. And so I've worked in that industry. I sort of know about things like outreach and where to look for audiences and how to target them and that sort of thing. So those things are helpful. They
Yeah.
don't solve anything, I have to say, because
Okay.
what are we, 5 days out or something? And I'm panicking about ticket sales every single day.
Mm.
I mean, one, because the landscape has changed and everyone buys on the day. And honestly, I just
That's terrifying.
like, so I did it at the Vaults Festival in, was that 22 or 23, I think. And my last day at the Vaults, I did 3 or 4 days, I think. My last day, I woke up and 40 tickets had been sold and it was a capacity of 80. And I was like, oh, I mean, fine, but like, oh God. By the end of the day, whilst I'm warming up, my ex-partner was messaging me like, "Oh, hey, have you got any leftover tickets? Because it's sold out." And I was like, "These people, where did these 40 other people come from?
Yeah, yeah,
What were they
yeah.
doing? Why couldn't they book last week? Why did I
Yeah,
have to be stressing all day because?"
so true.
So yeah, so I'm gonna be stressed about it. That's gonna happen. I just I think when it's one, if you're doing a night or something, like when I did it first ever in the world was the White Bear in
Yeah,
Kennington.
yeah, I'm aware.
That
Yeah.
was 2022.
Hmm.
And it was, I think it was 3 or 4, maybe it's 4 nights. And I can't remember how many seats there are there. Maybe 60 or something, is it? 50 or 60?
I remember it's been a long
Um,
time.
yeah, it's it's smallish. It's a pub
Yeah.
theatre space, so even if you've got like 20 or 30 in there, it feels pretty good.
Mm.
And it was the first thing that I'd ever done, and so all of the friends, family vibe that helped.
Mm.
Um, and then friends of friends and whatever.
Yeah, it's
But
like
yeah,
bring whoever, bring
it,
someone with you. If you're buying a ticket, you bring someone with you. Yeah.
exactly. So that was how I did that then. But then I've had to learn since that, especially when the cast is one person, I've only got so many options of
Yeah.
getting people in. And like once they've seen the show, they've seen the show. So now, and like the same with Edinburgh as well, and the vaults, like then you have to learn, okay, how do I get other people in? This now needs to not be just about me and my people. And I don't want it to be, I want it to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
seen by wider people. So I do, I try and work with a partner with people. I do Facebook meta ads, stuff like that. I don't like that because morally I hate the idea that I'm giving any money to any of that sort of stuff, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it does
Um,
work well. It does work.
yeah, it works. I try and reach out to, for example, I'm doing Greenwich, so I've reached out to the uni and I'm looking at the students around there, and I'd go and have a little Google at like the student unions and the societies, and I've got a associate producer as well who helps me with this stuff, so we can just hammer through and be like, hey, and make people aware because
Uh,
um that's another it's another avenue really, and
yeah.
that's I think the difference between doing it at a couple of nights in an early run or something versus 3 weeks is like
Yeah.
you've got to really sustain that audience and go and find them, but it is hard. And um yeah, I mean, even if Beyonce can't even sell out her show in advance, then like what am I stressing about? Because
That's amazing.
it
So
just
good. So good.
but like it's a really hard economy at the moment. Like I was saying as well, people, I think they're really looking at money and they're going,
Mm.
is it a guarantee? And
Yeah.
I unfortunately, no one knows my name and no one knows my show. Do you know, like I don't, it's
Mm.
not like it's Tom Hiddleston doing Much Ado. That's
Yeah,
gonna,
no, yeah,
so
fully
you're
with.
fighting that. You getting people to take a risk. So I found a lot for me is video content, just video, trying to get that in front of as many people as possible, I think is the way. And it's also about finding, for your particular show or project, finding like the tone of voice. I work with actors and artists and producers, and I can give a bit of advice, and I do some coaching sessions and stuff. And I always say, like, people have come to me and they've been like, "Oh, I love your marketing," and I'm like, so I've just zoned in on exactly what that character is and what the emojis I use and the tone of voice I use and the sorry, my phone is just falling out off of my thing. Yeah, all of the things are to try and give you the greatest idea of what that show will look and feel like. And so
Mm.
I say that of other artists, try and find that tone of voice early. Make
Mm.
sure it comes across in the press release. Make sure it comes across in all your marketing. I also try and advise people to. It's expensive to get photos and videos, but it's very hard to sell without them. And
Yes.
so I always think when you're budgeting, content is king,
Mm.
and it's annoying as hell that, and it's time consuming, but getting good content, a good content bank is going to stand you in good stead.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's like whenever, yeah, it is. It's just one of the things. It's the first thing you look at, isn't it? If you're like, oh, it doesn't
Yeah.
look like professionally done or whatever, which is crazy because it's like new writing or it's like a new piece or something, but you want it to be like engaging. You want to look at it and go and see it. So yeah, that's a really great tip. Thank you. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. That was great. That was really, really useful.
Thank you for having me.